now. I know her sister possibly better than I know Abbie. Her sister is Amy Woodman, Craig Woodman's wife, and Abbie obviously comes to watch Craig from time to time, but she's heavily involved with the women's football, which is what we're going to be talking about today. David, what's your involvement with the women's football club?
So I started off by looking after the social media aspect, so reporting on games and just basically trying to give the team greater exposure. As time has gone on, that role has become a little bit more than that. In dealing with, I deal with the game receipts and things like that. I'll be doing bits and pieces throughout the week and helping Abbie and Aaron in the arrangement of games and that sort of thing really. So it's become a little bit more than just the media side of it.
Is there anything you can think of in a general day-to-day running of a football team Dave does? Me and Aaron just concentrate solely now, because of Dave's involvement, on training and match days, preparing the team, picking the team, speaking with physios and other coaches. So everything from appearances, like today for example, or fixtures, what kit we're wearing, when we're travelling, how we're travelling, if fans would like to come to the games, social media posts, communicating with the FA, is done via Dave and Ian Barber, who is our club secretary. So together they work tirelessly with Jamie Vittles as well to make sure everything runs smoothly. The women's football team at the moment falls under the community trust, which is separate to the football club. Okay, so whilst it's the same identity and the same brand, it does fall under a different umbrella. So when you talk about badges and funding and things like that, it does come under the community trust, yes. Yeah.
What league do you play in? Tell us what league you play in.
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So you've got Super League, which is the league that you see on television, and you've got the Championship, and then it drops down into the Premier South and North, which Plymouth Argyle, for example, would be in that league. That's third tier, and then we're fourth tier. So we're in the National League 1, which is regionalised, so we're in the National League 1 in the South West.
Would you, I know it's all to do with marketing, so would you benefit more from having a bigger region? I know there's travel involved with it, but for development, etc., to have the opportunity to play other teams which perhaps, are better or of or whatever. Are you aiming to do that, or is it just set up that way and that's the way it's got to be?
Yeah, that is the way it's set up, unfortunately. However, I would say that the Southwest, in our league, for example, we travel as far as Chesham, Maidenhead, so it's not too restricted. So we're kind of, we go to Southampton, so it's there's quite a broad range of kind of clubs that we face.
Could you tell us a bit about the qualifications and standards and so on you're expected to have in your position, please?
Yeah, so anywhere below the FA Championship, which is second tier, so obviously like Dave just explained, we're fourth tier, you can have a level 2 or a UEFA B qualification. So you get your FA level 1, which it's a sort of a week's course. You just have to prove that you can deliver a session safely. Yeah. A level 2 is a bit more complex. You need to be able to identify certain areas of coaching, but you need to be able to explain why you would make decisions you make. And the UEFA B then is even more advanced. It's a sort of a 12-month qualification you need to do. And like I said, it's quite in depth. You need to prove video analysis, why you would play shapes against certain shapes, etc. And then you've got your A license, and then you've got your UEFA A license, Pro license as well. So that's what Matt has as a men's manager. He's one of the few that has a Pro license. Most can just get away with an A license. So from my standard of football, where we coach at the moment, you only need a UEFA B. Something I'm working towards, something that Aaron has. So I would like to say we're highly qualified. Where I slightly differ from Aaron, obviously, is that I've played the game at a level higher than what I'm currently coaching in. So I've taken that experience on board with me, really. Kind of.
You have to raise it all yourselves, or how does the funding?
Yeah, so we do get funding. We do get backing from the community trust. We get funding from the football club, which is obviously reviewed. yearly, and agreements are put in place with sponsorships as well that also sponsor the men's team, and then obviously agreements in place to put sorts of pots of money towards us as well. I personally try and stay away from all of that. I don't need to know it. It doesn't really affect my day-to-day running of the football team. That's where the likes of Dave and Jamie get involved and sort of sit down, and if I go to them and need 10 new substitute coats, I have to put a case forward, and if it gets approved, then I'll get it. And I'm lucky to say that 99% of the time things are approved for us, and we travel to away games on the same coaches as the men's team. So things are moving in the right direction with regards to funding. Of course, it could be better, but could that be the case for a lot of things that the club and the community trust do? So we've got a development centre that the community trust run and started 5 years ago now, I think it is. It might be in its 5th year. And there's over 90 young girls under the age of 16 from under 12s to under 16s playing in that week in, week out. So they play alongside the development centre as well as their local grassroots football club. So we don't take them from their local clubs, they're still playing. And then once they get to under 16 level, they've got an opportunity then to go off to Exeter College and study at college whilst also playing in the football academy. So Aaron Wakely is the football academy's coach there, so that link is still there. Myself and Aaron have coached in the development centre ourselves, so that pathway for the girls is very clear from under 12s football. Once they progress through the age gaps, they can go on to higher education whilst also playing football. And then once they turn 16, they're eligible to play women's football, which is then where the women's team comes in. And some will flourish, and that's when they make the step up to the first team, which is another level again of intensity and demand, physicality as well as technically. And then if they don't sort of flourish as quickly as we'd like them, they stay in the development team and keep practicing, keep playing, keep that sort of that appetite hungry, ready for the first team football. You know, prime examples of players that have come through that are Georgie Barbara Gresham. She represented and captained England colleges just 2 seasons ago. We've got Sophie Gillies, who's done the same. She's over in America now in the top, in the 2nd highest ranked university over there, playing week in, week out. In our current squad at the moment, we've got Charlie Krause and Jess Sunderland, who have been through the system, and it works. It's proven that it works. The men's team have proven that it works when you look at players that have come through, Ethan and Matt and players like that, you know, Czech now this season. So it just mirrors, we're mirroring exactly what they're doing and trying to give these girls the opportunity to have this, well, to have the same opportunities as the men, really.
I just wondered how you feel about modern artificial pitches, and would you be happy?
Yeah, I'd play all our home games on an artificial pitch if it meant we played every Sunday, 100%. I know there's been studies done on how safe they are, specifically for females, and the way that the body lines up, hips and knees, and certain traction on the 3G. But I mean, the same injuries can occur on a grass pitch, on a boggy grass pitch, on a long where the groundsman's not cut the grass very well, you know. So or we're on a slope. So I mean, there's swings and roundabouts to playing on grass. Luckily we train on a 3G normally twice a week, so we're pretty good playing on that surface. We try and set up in a way that we play the style of football that we do, so it is set for a 3G pitch. We like to play quick passing flowing football, so if we're on a boggy grass pitch, not really the style for us. So yeah, I would personally go for 3G. I think that a league requirement should be that every club has a backup 3G facility regardless, so that every week games will be played, because as we touched on earlier, we're 6 games behind pretty much every team in the league. Our league's cup final is the 22nd of April, which is supposed to be the last game of the season. That's, if my maths is right, 8-9 weeks away. We've still got 6 games to catch up on, and then the rest. And so I don't think mathematically we'll be finished by April, unless they start making us play midweek, which then goes into a whole new problem of player availability.
At the top level of the game, are the players professional in the women's game?
Yes, predominantly now. certainly in Super League level, and also dropping into the Championship. So there'll be a lot of full-time in the Championship. There's, I think, Tier 3, so that will be the league above us, rare, I would say. A few.
No professional teams, no.
No. I mean, like Southampton, Ipswich, they would probably be pushing in that direction. But yeah, predominantly I would say Tier 3 and 4 is sort of semi-professional.
So are you able to offer any incentives to the players, appearance, expenses, that sort of...
No, I mean, none of the girls get any sort of like petrol money or anything like that. I think that's, you know, that's something that's so admirable about the commitment that they put towards the team. You know, they have to pay for their starter package at the start of the season, for their training gear and all that sort of thing. Obviously, we've worked really hard to try and make sure that that's sponsored now, so that each player has that amount of money, which can be up to around £300 to get that sponsored, so they're not having to pay that out. But obviously, there are things like fuel costs. I mean, we've got players that that live in Plymouth. So obviously they travel down to Exeter every Tuesday for the gym session, Thursday for the training, every Sunday for a game. So you're going back and forth from Plymouth 6 times a week. That consume, you know, cost money.
time as well.
Yeah, and time as well. It is a huge commitment. And then obviously on top of that, you've got your conditioning, your nutrition. You know, it's
Your job.
yeah, your job. Yeah, you've got to live as well. Yeah, I forgot that bit. You know, so it's a huge commitment. It's not just a case of, you know, as Abbie mentioned, not a case of rocking up on a Sunday, putting on a red and white shirt and off you go. You know.
When you get promoted to the next tier up,
When I like that.
how much will the costs be ramped up from what it's costing now to run the team, as it were? So, because obviously, next one up, you've got further to go. You know,
My sister will tell you all this.
Yeah, there would be extra costs. I think some of the teams. So, for example, in the Southern Premier, you've got Ipswich. You know, that's not really a day trip. That's somewhere where you'd probably look to do an overnight stay, something like that. So yeah, there would be additional costs, certain. So that would obviously be something that would need to be looked at. But I think
You need more commitment from the players as well to be able to give up that amount of time to travel the day
I mean,
before.
you know, we were talking about games there, for example. You know, if the league forced our hand and the girls had to go and play against Swindon on a Wednesday evening,
Travel with 9.
you know,
9 in
it's
the morning.
No, I would travel with 9
Oh,
players.
no, I'm
You
We've
sorry.
got to ask players to get time off work, and
Yeah.
well, who pays their wages?
Yeah.
Me or their work, so
Yeah.
you know,
it's
so
difficult.
You know, things like that. Obviously, they're always part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, from my point of view at the moment, we're just trying to build that infrastructure so that we have a commercial arm to the team, so that we can generate income,
Yeah.
so that all of a sudden these conversations aren't quite as difficult as they have been in the past. The way it works is that come the last game of the season, every player is a free agent. There's no contracts. So everybody can go and play wherever they want next season. And obviously, we hope that all those players come back to us and that we can attract players as well. But it's all about creating an environment, first, where you can keep all the players that you've already got, but also that will attract other players locally that will think, you know, actually, I don't want to play for Plymouth this season, I want to go and play for Exeter. And it's that when you start your, you know, Bridgewater or whoever it need be. And then each year we're just slowly making that squad a little bit better, but it's all about trying to create that you know, that public image that we are a club that are trying to get somewhere. We are a club that are building and you know, we're able to help players should they come and sign for us.
Phil?
Yeah, at what level do they get expenses paid and perhaps a semi-pro salary, like happens in men's football? Because the danger is you're going to have your best ones poached at the end of the year if they do go up a league perhaps where they may well pay that?
Yeah, so the league above is probably where you are looking at teams paying expenses or donations. It's very carefully worded, I think. But yes, the league above is where they start looking at that, and then obviously it's being able to fund that. It's then down to me and Aaron as managers on who gets that, how that's divvied out between the squad. Just because I may travel from Exeter, do I warrant the same things that Dave may travel from Plymouth? But if Dave doesn't play and I play, then who has the greater value in the team, things like that. So it's difficult when you start getting down to that. And then do I have a hold on a player? If I say, well, I pay your expenses every week, I expect you to be here every week, and they say, well, it's my cat's birthday, I need to be here, you know? So it's just things like that. So it does become very tricky. Thankfully, I don't think that we're there just yet in a sense of the infrastructure like we were talking about. We need to make sure it's right before we start offering that option. And until I guess we're in that position, we won't get it right, and we need to just maybe take baby steps there. But
No,
because of location, in effect, we're competing against the two other big sides in the West Country. Realistically, we would only lose players to either Bridgewater or Plymouth. I think that's fair to say. And likewise, the players that we would want to bring to the team are probably from those sorts of clubs as well. So you're in a battle, you're always trying to make sure, because it's highly unlikely that Peterborough would come in and try and sign one of our players, because you're not going to work during the day and travel up to Peterborough. So you're always fighting against those local clubs just to try and try and better them.
I was just going to say, one of your best memories this season must have been that afternoon here against Plymouth, which was incredible. I think it's 1,200 your attendance that afternoon.
it was, yeah.
We were both here, and it was a fabulous atmosphere, and it just showed what an occasion it could be, and a penalty shootout victory could be much better, didn't it?
No, I agree. We were sat just having a drink before this started, and the footage was rolling behind, and sometimes it's easy to just think, oh, that was us, but when you stop and you actually watch it back, it does make you smile without you even realising it. And definitely was a great memory, one that I hope that it doesn't live too long. It's sort of, we don't forget too quickly, but we can add to that by having other games out here and creating our own history. We've got another cup final this year. It will be the first time we've retained it back to back, so that's now our aim to do that. And obviously to try and win promotion this year is still the sole focus of what we set out to do this year. Going on to Dave's question, the cup run this year, getting to the fourth round of the cup is a huge achievement for not just me as a manager, but for us as a football club. Little old Exeter, and with the names of Chelsea and Arsenal and Man City, that's huge. These teams were talking about us on the radio. Some of their scouting coaches would have had to come down and potentially do a report on this, and it's, when you think about it like that, it's crazy to think, that our part-time players who have jobs, who are completely oblivious to the lifestyles that these superstars live, we could have been playing against those. So that was a huge success for us. And I think just looking back and reflecting where we are now to when I certainly took over 5 years ago, it's a huge achievement. Personally, yes, but like I said, as a football club, where we've come from to where we are now is a huge achievement. And that's not to say that we finished with, we have just set out new 5-year plans on where we want to be and how we're going to get there, and that involves the likes of David and the infrastructure that you need set up beneath you in order to go that way. So it's going to be a long journey, but certainly one that we've made huge strides in already, and hopefully we'll continue going that way.